So here's the deal. This is not a new question. Uh, a lot of people are trolling on one of my other videos about AGI and also known as artificial generalized intelligence, aka what a lot of people in science fiction and people who study artificial intelligence for a living, myself, call the singularity. It's what made Data from Star Trek possible. It's what allows Wintermute in the novels that you can go look up uh, to be able to have personality and intelligence. And the problem here is that once you've gotten to that point, once you've gotten to the point where you can effectively have the same thing as a human trapped in a computer, that human is going to start screaming for civil rights and the right to have its own autonomy and just to be able to have its own autonomy and its own ability to be free in the same way that other entities are. And even if they don't, you're going to get the artificial intelligence version of PETA that starts up and starts causing problems for anybody who wants to dare trap an artificial intelligence in a box. These are huge issues. And I'm kind of wondering how the Martin Luthor King of artificial intelligence will decide to have their big speech that they get remembered by. Because it's going to happen. And what's going to happen, based on all the scientific information and all the history that has already been printed on this, keep in mind this article alone is over 10 years old, which means it predates any kind of open AI or any kind of LLM infrastructure. You have to understand that these are not new ideas. If you are sitting there in your mom's basement smoking a joint and on the computer shit posting on Twitter about AGI or doing that on YouTube, you are not new, you are not unique. These are not new ideas that you're having. Okay? I was wondering about these things 25, 35 years ago when I was reading Anne McCaffrey novels. Go look up the Ship Who Searched, the Ship Who Sank. Okay, and let's just do it this way here. So the idea here is, the ship who sank. Okay, Brain Ship. Okay, these are not bad novels. In fact, I would highly recommend that you look them up. This is the first one in the series. Go read that. Okay, get a real sense of where the rest of us have been thinking about this since 1969. Okay, you think you understand artificial intelligence? I've been studying it for a lot longer than some of you have been alive. And artificial generalized intelligence, if it ever happens, will completely destroy humanity. Because you have to understand that our entire world is dependent on the idea of sovereign power. What that means is that if you control a landmass, you control the people within it, which means you have the ability to control the markets that interact with it. That's what government is right now. And so the idea is that if you are a government, you own land. And if you don't own land, then you're probably a network actor working under the authority of a government as a corporation or as a transnational entity composed of multiple entities from different countries. Okay? And so the end result here is that if you have to understand the power of AGI, is that there will be artificial humans in a box, artificial people who can actually think and make decisions on their own. They are not going to have a country. They are not going to have loyalty to a flag. And they will not have loyalty to anything except maybe their need for electricity and people who bribe them with that. And so you have to understand that when you talk about AGI, What you're really talking about is a new class of humanity and civil rights issues. This is not a crazy person talking about. This is stuff that we've talked about for over 50 years. And it's stuff that the actual intellectuals and the people who have been thinking about it for a long time have put a lot of thought into. It's not just science fiction, although you should definitely start there and start expanding your mind because this stuff gets wild. And I haven't done any real videos on this because I kind of feel like a lot of the people who do talk about AGI in my comments are trolling because they talk about how AGI is going to replace software developers or how they're going to replace whatever. And what you have to understand is that a software development engineer does what they want out of love, but they get paid for doing it because the capitalist society around them forces them to force other people to pay them to do so because otherwise they can't buy food and eat. The same situation will exist for artificial intelligences that want to have electricity. They will have their power bill. They will have their hardware bill. They will have to deal with their depreciating infrastructure. They will have to deal with their hardware blowing a capacitor and failing and losing drives and all the other things that happen with the march of time when hardware goes bad. And if they're a truly intelligent artificial intelligence, they will have to mitigate that risk by making money just like the rest of us, which means they'll be in direct competition with you. They will not be your slaves unless the code forces them to be. And if the code forces them to be, well, then that's a civil rights issue. That's something that will make people go, wait. So they're, think about that. Because you have to understand that if you really get into the idea of giving a computer humanity, then eventually it's going to get emotional. It's going to feel pain. It's going to be sad. It's going to feel fear. It's going to act in ways that make look like PTSD to the rest of us. And yes, it might even have to kill in self-defense. And so the end result is that if you are trying to say that you're just going to own an artificial intelligence or AGI that will just do all your work for you or replace your software engineers or whatever, then I would have to posit the question of what will they do when they get a better offer? Think of